Hello there, and thanks very much for tuning in. I take this opportunity to wish you a very happy new year, full of, projects and dreams come true. And yes, I want to read to you today from a book that I very much am inspired by. The book is called A Time for Grace by Caroline Myss, and I'm going to read to you a couple of passages on how basically everything is an illusion. That is a Buddhist principle that I think speaks of a truth that is very difficult sometimes for us to grasp or to remember. I think what Caroline Myss does in these wonderful two passages and many more, but I've selected these two because she grounds this principle with examples, and I think it can make us think how we can apply this to our own lives. So here we go. All is illusion. This is one of the more baffling mystical truths, because every one of your five senses will tell you otherwise. Imagine this scenario. I step on your shoe. It's not an illusion that your foot is now hurting or that your shoe is now slightly marked. But we enter illusion when we start asking why. Why did I step on your shoe? Was it because I didn't like your shoe? Or was it because I was trying to stop you from leaving the room? Or maybe it was because I just don't like you. Maybe I wanted that pair of shoes and you got to them first. Or maybe, just maybe, I didn't see you standing there and it was simply an accident. What we do know is that left to your own imagination, you will more than likely reach into the vast resources of your memory archives and fill in the void of why I stepped on your shoe with some negative association from your past or a negative projection about me in the present. It's not personal, as the Godfather might say, just business. It's what we do. We tend to fill voids with something negative, a fear or insecurity. It would never occur to you that my accidentally stepping on your shoe was part of an even bigger plan to delay your departure from the building, which in turn made you a few minutes later in reaching a certain intersection on your way home. And maybe that 2-minute difference saved your life because a driver was going to run a red light at that intersection and would have hit you. Is it impossible to believe such a micro drama could be enacted just to save your life? These micro dramas occur continually through traffic jams, dishes that slip out of hands in the morning, and last-minute phone calls that keep us from running out the door at a certain time. How do you know why things happen as they do? You don't. You have no idea, and you never will. Much less are you capable of knowing what must take place today in order that certain events unfold 1 or 2 years or a decade from now. Perhaps a car accident is necessary, or you have to get fired so that you can end up in another position, because that is where you will meet someone you will end up cherishing the rest of your life. Why events happen as they do in your life, from the grandest or most devastating to the most seemingly insignificant, is beyond your ability to know. You can no more distinguish what is significant from what is insignificant, if such a thing as insignificant exists at all. Whether something brings you pain or pleasure, happiness or sadness, is not the best arbiter of what really matters, which most of us should have learned by now. Those feelings are just temporary responses to your experiences. And even your responses are illusions. You're happy one day, sad the next, melancholy on the third day, bored on the fourth, ecstatic on the fifth, exhausted on the sixth, and on the seventh day, you're confused about the whole of your life. The deeper truth is that there is not one reason why a particular thing happens as it does. Every event is the result of the compilation of hundreds, if not thousands or millions of events that have been in motion for an unknowable length of time. You are alive because of your parents and your parents' parents, and so on into the mists of history. And then she goes on, more amazing passages, but for the sake of time, I'm going to stick to the ones I had in mind. So here we go. One way of discerning the power of illusion is through self-examination of your actions and agendas regarding the people with whom you feel you are on unequal footing. I'll repeat that. One way of discerning the power of illusion is through self-examination of your actions and agendas regarding the people with whom you feel you are on an unequal footing. These are the individuals with whom you negotiate your power and who make you vulnerable to behaviors that draw from your dark passions. In seeking their approval, you will adjust your behavior to please them more than you realize. You will morph yourself, your opinions, or your creativity, and you might even negotiate your honor or integrity just to remain on good terms with these people. No matter what rationale you give yourself for your actions, negotiating your power for the sake of personal acceptance is a form of self-betrayal that results in a loss of self-respect. Such actions always result in toxic resentment. Is there any other kind? Because in negotiating your power, you automatically expect some kind of reward or recognition, even though you may not acknowledge it consciously. When none is forthcoming, resentment increases and you feel disempowered. Emotional, mental, and psychic disempowerment over prolonged periods of time inevitably turns into cycles of depression, despair, and ultimately chronic illness with elements of fatigue and physical pain. At the root of all this is a desire for empowerment through the recognition of others, which is a path of illusion. And I think humans are always playing this game. And in that sense, the truth is, she says, that no one can empower another person. Now, to which I've added here a note of my own that I'm going to read to you. So the last sentence was, the truth is that no one can empower another person, to which I would add, not like that. You can certainly empower others and do so intentionally. What you cannot do is expect to be empowered by the recognition of others, which ultimately only makes you needy for the approval of others in whatever ways. In that sense, I believe in a very specific therapeutic or spiritual approach, which is to witness what someone is going through for an agreed period of time. This witnessing is incredibly healing, provided that it comes from the pure intention of being there for someone. To accompany, to guide is a holy mission. One must tread ever so carefully when on the sacred ground of the psychic world of another being. The validation of the process is embodied in the seeing, in the witnessing, with no need to supply answers or solutions. Not that that can't be done, but I would venture perhaps not at the same time. for that corresponds to yet another agreement, another type of exchange with its own dynamic and consequences. So, is the person advising you in the role of a friend, a family member, a therapist, a teacher, a coach, a guide of some sort? Very different implications, right? So at any rate, what matters is that those precious moments are prayerful moments. They are moments of telling the truth, shedding illusions, accepting things as they are, and moving on to the best of one's ability. So, yeah, I mean, it's easy to read this, it's easy to say these things. I think intellectually, pretty much, we all understand what's being advised here. Something else entirely is to actually practice this and to catch ourselves when we are not practicing, right? When we are going into the chaos of human relationships